This is the Go Radio Business Show.
Well, Tom,
Well, Willie,
you told the listeners last week there was something new and exciting this week, and this is it.
and here we are.
Aye. Not only can you listen to us, now you can watch us. So this will be the new concept for the show, and we're going to trial it out, see how it works. And if you up your game a bit, I'm sure the people will like it.
Yeah, no bother, Willie.
I think this week we can only start with one topic, the budget.
So where do you want to start with a budget, Willie? Is it a budget for business? Is it a budget for growth? Are we going to get the Scottish economy rocking?
Well, according to the SNP, that's exactly what they're going to do. But the proof will be in the pudding.
It will.
A few good things, to be fair.
Right.
We've been asking for weeks and weeks and weeks about what can you do about small business relief for rates. And they've done it. So they've followed suit, same as down south. So there's a 40% deduction, small businesses, and I think 92%, if I believe, of all businesses are in that category. So I think that can only be a good thing.
Right. The devil's in the detail as ever.
Yep.
Willie, I think if it does follow England or the rest of the UK, then I'll be happy and the hospitality sector will be happy. But there was this thing about, oh, it's only for single businesses. I haven't got the detail yet, but I'll follow up.
As far as I know, it's going to be a replica of what operates down south. So
Right.
hopefully it will be the case.
Okay.
And that can only be good.
That can only be good.
That's only good.
That can only be good.
But what I was amazed at when I heard the breakdown of the budget, we get about 48 billion, right, from the UK government. And I couldn't believe it when I found out that 40% of that, nearly 20 odd billion, goes in the NHS alone.
So
That's staggering.
21 billion
Yeah.
goes in health and social care, Willie.
Yeah.
So that is a huge amount. And it's something we talked about maybe last week, where we would want the best people. Do you know any other CEO with a budget of 21 billion pounds? I don't know many.
Well, I don't know a CEO with a budget of 21 billion running a business that's such a shambles. And I believe that they're going to pour a bit more money into it. And I've got to ask myself, how do we know it's going to be spent better? Though we keep saying, you know, that let's start off by telling the viewers, the listeners, and we'll only do this the first week, right? that the four key policies for the Scottish Government are eradicating child poverty. Everybody would agree with that. It's a good idea.
Yep.
Growing the economy, improving public services, and also protecting the planet.
Okay.
Right? So we buy into all of that. Right. Fine. The problem we've got is history tells us that when they tell us all these things and they charge us more, that nothing changes.
Nothing.
In fact, it's fair to say that we've been hearing all this stuff. To be fair, going way back, even when Labour were running Scotland, I think it's fair to say since devolution, we have not seen the growth we would like to have seen.
Definitely not. And, you know, the Auditor General, who's someone who I admire, is independent of government, Stephen Boyle, and he has come out this week and said, and this is his words, not mine, that he sees no clear plan to deliver the NHS vision in Scotland. Waiting list reductions have not been met. Patients waiting to be discharged from hospitals, there's been no improvement in that. And that's a big thing, Willie.
Yeah.
And the productivity of patient outcomes and improvements, no progress. So what the SNP government are going to do is pour more money into what I'm calling a broken system.
Yes.
And any business would tell you, hang on a minute, let's not put more money, let's not commit more capex to a system that's not delivering in the first place. Let's sort the system, then add the money.
As we would say in business, it's putting good money after bagged.
I would say so.
Right. And I think that you're spot on. And I think that one of the things that we should be doing is absolutely looking at how we take this giant oil tanker, which is the NHS. And I think the only way of fixing it is to break it up. All we keep doing is throwing more money at it. And it's fair to say, I don't think you can ask anyone to tell you that things are better since devolution, when especially comes to the NHS. And I would go as far to say public services. Right, at the moment, every day when we're driving through potholes, when we see bins that haven't been lifted, and you're like, no, you get your bin emptied now once a fortnight, maybe once 3 weeks, depending where you're staying. All of the services we're paying more for, and they're going back the way. No one's happy with their services. But some of the other things that they've done in the budget, they've said, to be fair, that they're going to address, what Labour done to the fuel allowance for pensioners.
Okay.
Right.
So that's a political move.
Exactly.
But do you applaud it?
100%. 100%. We should
Good.
never have done it. We should never have done it.
Okay.
Right? And what it looks like is, it looks like the Labour Party in England are listening to the civil servants in the Treasury and what they have to do. And to be fair to the SNP, that they're listening to what the people would like you to do, and they're potentially getting a bit. But what they're doing is, as well as they're buying votes. Right, that's what clever budgets should do. Right,
They have
no
been
hide
doing
the
that
fact.
for the past 17 years, Willie.
Yeah, and to be fair, no one's delivered. The services haven't got better. So for me, I think this is a big, big time where people now are under the spotlight, and we haven't touched on it, but in the last few months, this meteoric rise of reform, I think, has made all the other parties sit up and take notice. And I'll tell you, they all better get their act together.
Yeah. I mean, do I have any more confidence in a reform MSP? I mean, I just don't. I'm a bit disillusioned at the present time. I think overall in the budget, Shona Robinson talks about inputs, right? I'm going to spend an extra 2 billion in this. I'm going to spend an extra 100 million in this.
Yeah.
There's nothing about what that achieves.
Yeah.
And as you and I know in business, it's one thing to invest, but you want a return on your investment.
Yeah.
And as a government minister, you would say, I'm investing 2 billion more in the NHS. What I expect is a reduction in patient waiting times. I want a reduction in the blocking of beds to discharge patients. There needs to be a series of outputs from that investment. I don't think the people who are running it are capable of such a big change project. As you and I know, change in any business is the most difficult thing to deliver. It needs quality people. I don't see them in the Scottish Government.
No. What you can get away from is that she went a long way to say in 2 or 3 occasions that we are the least taxed nation in the UK. But I think that's been a wee bit disingenuous. If you add all the taxes up together, we're not, right? Especially if you're someone in Scotland who earns more than £28,000, you'll be paying more tax than you pay down south.
Yeah.
So how can you say that?
Now, she did go, and again, we're taking this almost in real time when we're recording this. There is the UK government and the Scottish government froze the threshold. So that was really a tax rise because they never moved up. But what Shona Robinson is saying is the basic and intermediate tax rates are going to be indexed at 3.5%. I think that's what she said. We'll check this in the detail.
That's what she said.
Now, if that is the case, Willie, then that is good for lower earners.
Yes.
And I applaud that.
Yeah.
But where was the big ideas for the economic growth to help businesses, to grow the economy, to grow the tax take, not the tax rate, which then funds the public services we all want? Now, the Scottish budget, so along with what we get as a block grant, the Barnett formula from Westminster, Scotland raises its own taxes through income tax, etc. So the Scottish government is spending about 60 billion a year. Therefore, when any government minister says to me, "Oh, Tom, there's no money," I would say, you're spending the 60 billion pounds inefficiently.
Yeah.
Get better at your job.
Yeah, I totally agree. Credit where credit's due. And I think that we always say as business people, we just need to believe that people are listening. And I think on the business relief, they've been listening. And I also think they've been listening when it comes to housing. So we have a crisis and they have added back, to be fair, what they took out and added a bit more. So now the whole housing grant will go up to 760 million,
Yep.
which is welcome.
Yep.
And that will no doubt help. But
So does that put it back? Well,
I put it back to just above where it used to be.
so they cut it by 200. Yeah. They've increased it by 200
and a bit.
one.
200 and a bit.
And everybody goes, oh, we're really increasing it.
Yeah.
But you decreased it just a few months ago.
Yeah, but I think that's got to be welcome. But one of the things I had a wee chuckle about, it was also fed back to the government through the various ministers that a lot of the small retail outlets are saying that, you know, that theft now, shoplifting is now getting completely out of control.
Yes.
And she's announced that she's going to put 3 million aside to try and help with the prevention. I don't know how many guards that buys you, but here's a tip for her. Shona, just do away with the law that you brought in where under 16s were not getting charged. Right, this is what's wrong. People who are running organised crime gangs for shoplifting are using younger and younger people. You know, the girl who's a manageress in Cruise tells me she's rolling about the floor with 14 and 15-year-olds every week, knowing because they know they can't get arrested.
Really?
And the police are telling us, well, like, there's nothing we can do about it. So for me, £3 million will be a complete waste of taxpayers' money to try and address the shoplifting issue. What to do is look at the law. And on that, this week, me and you know, two wrongs don't make a right. So see, if you don't have enough prison places, you don't have enough cells, letting people out early and letting people off doesn't help that situation. That will jump up and bite you in the proverbial. So for me, whether you like it or not, we need to build more prisons.
Right. Yes.
We're going to end up getting total anarchy because you can get away with it. I know people might not think that's it, but unfortunately, that's where we are.
Right. So overall, Willie, to try and recap on this budget, from a business point of view, there's not too much encouragement to grow our business and to grow our economy, to grow our tax take. There are some good things which we want to acknowledge. The non-domestic rates for hospitality, retail, etc. I need to get into the detail before I fully applaud it. More money into a broken NHS. Hang on a minute. Let's move the NHS from treatment to prevention. That's the big move that needs to happen. So that rather than treat all these symptoms that's coming, let's get ahead of it, go into prevention, put the money in there so there's less people to treat. That's what's happening. That's what Wes Streeting is saying.
Yeah.
Now, can he do it? That's the $64 billion question. But I'd like to see the big ideas in Scotland coming. Frankly, I don't think we've got the quality of people to deliver it. And even Boyle agrees with us here, and he's independent of any government. It's still more expensive for businesses who are growing to attract the talent over a certain amount, because the people will say, well, you're taxing me more, therefore I need a higher wage than if I was working in Newcastle or Manchester or Birmingham. So for growing businesses to attract the talent, we're at a disadvantage to the rest of the UK. Why? Why on earth would you do that? And the thing that's absolutely missing in this budget for me is to say, let's look at every policy. Let's look at efficiencies. Let's look at, why is that policy there? Who does that serve? Does that stop us growing the business base in Scotland? And get rid of it.
Yeah.
So come on, let's get behind this. Let's make Scotland flourish. That's what we want.
Right. So let's dwell on some of the things that we talk about every week. So if you take it that she's also announced there'll be an extra 150 million towards the whole getting towards green energy, clean energy.
Right.
150 million on offshore wind farms or whatever we need to do. We applaud that. We applaud it. Well, that's a drop
Well
in
done.
the ocean. But she also announced that there'll be a spend of, I think it was 321 million through the various enterprise agencies.
321, yeah.
Me and you would say we'd like a breakdown of that, right? And we'd like to see what is in there that's maybe going to encourage entrepreneurship, right?
Yep.
And we believe that we have a fantastic ecosystem in Scotland, and we get it every week. The only thing that's missing is that bit of funding to help people scale up. And it'd be brilliant if they would get closer to the things that you're doing and other people are doing, Entrepreneurial Scotland, the scale up. I'd like to see things more connected. I think that we could do more, and I think it wouldn't take a lot of money to help Scotland, a lot of good businesses in Scotland get to the next level.
So I've got a meeting next week, Willie, and I'd like you to come. You and Susan are coming down to Blair as we do a wee thank you to everybody who's helped us in the Hunter Foundation through 2024. But I'm meeting with Adrian Gillespie and Willie Mackey, who's
What's their price?
the current chairman. I think there'll be some big news on who the new chairman is next. I think you know who it is. I don't, and you'll no tell me, and you're driving me mad. But what I'm going to say to them is, and this is not popular, what I'm about to say. We have got 3 enterprise agencies in Scotland. We're a country of 5.3 million people. So if I'm an investor based in America and I want to invest in Inverness, I go to Highlands and Islands. But maybe there's something I've got to come to Glasgow to speak to Adrian about. If I want to go to the south of Scotland, I've got another enterprise agency. They will tell me it's all working seamlessly. I'll say bollocks. One agency, one point of contact. When I looked at the Irish economy and what helped there, they put one person. So if you wanted to invest in my country, I was with you. And I had access to the highest person in the government to say, I've got a blockage, Willie. This is a 100 million investment. And you unblocked it and I went back and sorted it. Why do we need 3 agencies?
Well, what I'll tell you from my experience when I was chairman of Scottish Enterprise Glasgow, the argument always was that the needs were different, right? But I'm with you, connectivity works, right? Let's understand what the Highlands and Islands needs and let's see how we can help them.
Yeah.
But what happened was that people thought there was a disproportionate awarding of the monies to the larger cities. Now, to be fair, what they didn't understand was it's where the growth was. Right.
Let's go where the chimney pots are.
Exactly, right. So I think that we need to understand what the rural communities need, and but it has to be part of the big picture, not separate. But we need to also demonstrate to them that they're getting a fair crack at the whip. Now, for them, to be fair, if we are right about the new green energy movement, they could be key. We could be sitting here in 25 years' time saying that some of the rural places are the financial hubs of the country.
Well, can I stop you there? I'll not be here in 25 years' time. I'll not be coming to sunny Gorbals in 25 years' time.
Depending how this show goes, you might not be here next week. Right. But I think...
I want my redundancy.
Right, but I think that we really need to do more, I believe, at the bottom end of the food chain for economic growth and helping entrepreneurs get to that next level. Right? We've got a great, there's some great examples of how we punch above our weight. I just think we have a wee bit more money in the right places. We've got some very clever people here. Guys like James Anderson, guys like Ian Ritchie, people who understand the whole tech sector. Maybe back Martin Ritchie, all of these guys, Roy McGregor up and knows about oil and gas, Ian Woods. Let's get a panel of experts to sit in and I don't want to call it Dragon's Den.
No.
But if we get that, the whole scale up thing where you have a panel where we could award money to companies who we honestly believe can take us to the next level in our old pursuit of clean energy.
So to be fair, Willie Watt, the Scottish National Investment Bank are funding some of that. But just to finish my point on 3 enterprise agencies, that's 3 chief executives, 3 CEOs, 3 offices, 3 admin support, 3. Let's divide it by 3. Let's not multiply it by 3. Anyway,
I'll tell you what.
7 over.
I'll tell you what's one in that. We've got 47 small housing associations just in Glasgow with 47 chief executives.
They're supposed to be
Seven
cheered me up.
The Go Radio Business Show with Hunter and Haughey. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and never miss an episode.
Right, Tom, that's enough about the budget.
Enough about
Let's
the budget.
move on. Let's
Right.
move on to the day-to-day stuff we generally deal with.
What's happening this week, Willie?
Well, do you want to talk about your pal Elon?
I do want to talk about my pal Elon. So, here we go. This is my pet subject right now, Willie. My pet subject. So, what's happened with Elon Musk this week is a judge in Delaware. So, Delaware, as you know, Willie, is where a lot of American companies are based because they think the laws are company positive. But a judge there has ruled against Elon's $56 billion pay award, despite the shareholders voting for it. So who's in charge? The shareholders are some judge. The judge wrote 101 pages on this. Now, let me give you a bit of context, because in first blush, 56 billion is a lot of money to pay MD.
Yeah.
But I think he's worth it. I know you don't. So here we go. It was agreed back in 2018, when Tesla's value was $60 billion, and it had never made a profit in 2018. So Elon agreed, I don't want any pay. I'm going to take it all in shares if I hit these KPIs, key performance indicators, over the next 10 years, and I'll get it in 12 tranches. Now, he hit every one of them in 2022. And he should have got his 56 billion of shares, Willie. But all these things happened because he'd grown the market cap 10 times, Willie.
Yeah.
It was worth 650 billion by then. It delivered 14 billion of EBITDA, one of our great subjects here. And since his great pal Donald Trump has won, the shares are up 40%, and his package is now worth, wait for it, $100 billion. No wonder he wanted Trump in the White House, Willie. But there was a main shareholder called Richard Torrenta who said, hang on a minute, you, the board, have given Elon too much. This was all too easy. He was working at SpaceX. He was working at Twitter. He was only part-time at Tesla. My God, imagine him being part-time and increasing the market cap by times 10. So this is where they are today. Judge says no. Shareholders say yes. Elon's appealing it. Let's see what happens.
So let me give you my tuppence worth on that. My American businesses are actually registered in Delaware. I
Delaware.
think I might move them. But it's intriguing that a judge can step in and make a ruling over shareholders. You've got one disgruntled shareholder, but you and I know that in a business, you go to a vote. If the majority of the ownership of a company agrees to something, 99 times out of 100, it goes ahead. In fact, this is the first time I've ever heard of this happening.
Aye.
Right? But maybe because of the magnitude. So for me, yeah, I think he's well paid, but I also agree that a deal is a deal. If that's what was agreed back in the day, if the guy has taken the company to what we call 10x in that time, then I think he's entitled to every penny.
Wow, Willie.
As long as he doesn't agree to Donald Trump.
I didn't think you were going to say that, but there you are, you've surprised me again.
But interesting, well, because a deal is a deal.
A deal's a deal.
Honour a deal, right? Sometimes you don't like it, but you have to, if your reputation is everything. But let me say to you on that. So what we're talking about, your friend, it's been muted this week. I don't know if somebody's up to a bit of mischief that he might be going to give Nigel Farage 100 million to fight the election, the next election. So I think that would have, let me just say, a heartbreaking effect on how the UK government might look right next time around. So what do you think of your pal getting involved in UK politics.
So let me tell you something, and this will probably not be popular with you, but I don't think rich people should get influence over political parties. I don't think rich people should be able to donate to political parties. I think it's down to each and every taxpayer to put it in a fund. I've got one vote, and that's all I want. People who throw money and expect something in return, I'm not into that. So Keir Starmer has a chance here to say no more political donations, no more cash for questions, for honours, for whatever. We're going to put together a fund which will fund political parties. You know, why would it be if the Tories had more wealthy supporters, they've got more money than Labour? That's not fair. That's not fair. There needs to be a better system, Willie.
Well, look, I can only talk about my own experience in this, and this is true. For the past 30 years, I have donated greatly to the Labour Party, and nobody has ever promised or asked me for anything.
But nobody's listening to you.
Ever. Exactly. If people would have listened to me,
What a waste of money, Will.
trust me, that budget would not have looked like it looked like. But I do agree that there's instances where you can see that people have just paid money and get something for it. If it did, it took the Labour Party 30 years to give me something, right? But I think that you're right. I think it'd be better if they received no money. All of them. The Tories for many years have managed to, gather more money than anybody when it came to election time, and they've found ways around. It's no fair. It's no fair. And then you've got the unions that pay into it, and so they get grief for that. They're the big donor to the Labour Party. I think that you should set the budgets away a minimum, and people should, especially now with 24-hour TV, you don't need campaigns, right? You're home there. People want to come and interview you every day of the week. They want to see what your policies are. So for me, I would on this one, Tom, I totally disagree that everybody does it for what they can get, but I would say to you that I totally agree that it shouldn't be allowed at all.
So I accept you don't do it for that. I don't accept most people, they give money, they want something in return, Willie.
Yep. We'll leave it at that.
It's a bit uncomfortable in the studio. Our temperatures are up a bit.
Thanks for that one, Tom.
I'll be getting my shorters.
Yes. I'm glad we kept that one.
Thank you. I'll never see you again.
Yeah. This is the Tom Going Away show. Right, okay, what about the story this week about NatWest?
Aye, so tell me, because I've been busy this week,
Right.
Willie, so tell me,
So
what was that about?
they're trying to get themselves out of the share ownership within the government. So
Which we agree with.
exactly right. So they're down to 11% this year. It used to be 38%.
Wow.
And now they're saying that they've recently bought Sainsbury's Bank, and they might go on an acquisition trail. Right. Does this look like us heading back into the faux pas and the mistakes they made back in the past?
Fred Goodwin, the ghost of Fred, sweep through the studio, Willie.
The shed.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah, I think things have changed a lot since Fred's time. I don't believe one of our big banks should be owned by the government or a big influence from government. I'm all for getting government out the way. So I would really welcome if NatWest can sell the rest of the government stake and get on and flourish.
Right. So I totally agree.
Okay,
Totally agree.
good.
Totally agree. So we need.
Well, I
I want
think
to start
agreeing
as
quite a
well.
lot this week,
No,
Willie.
let's disagree about something. Let's find something we can disagree with.
Aye.
What about there's a kind of time bomb brewing on the housing market? The data out this week confirmed a worrying jump in the number of mortgages being approved that would see the owner still repaying into their retirement years. Now, 2 in 5 new mortgages approved see people repaying after they're 65. Ultimately, this sees people paying larger sums of interest and could create a pension crisis in future years.
Wow.
Right, not a good thing.
Not a good thing, Willie. I think, I think everybody deserves a right to have their own home. The way we finance that, people have said, oh, well, if interest rates go up, oh, it's no problem. All we do is extend the time. But if people are still expected to be paying a mortgage when they're over 65 and perhaps retired, is that just building up a time bomb? A big payment at the end, and they say, I don't have a job anymore.
The only thing I would say to that is I think anyone at the moment taking a mortgage out who are in the 40s bracket will still be working at 70.
Do you?
I think the retirement age, absolutely, because of the pressure on pensions, I think that people in the next gen will easily be working until they're 70.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great Christmas present, Willie. No.
Well, you're okay. You're past that anyway. It doesn't matter, right? And what about there was a boardroom squabble at the car giant Stellantis when they hit the headlines this week, right? That Vauxhall, Jeep and Fiat parted company with a CEO in a very public fashion.
Yeah.
It comes weeks after they announced the closure of their Luton van-making plant. The CEO, Carlos Tavares, is well known for his ruthless cutting, and he sliced an artery this week and it cost him his role. The companies need to right size occasionally, or cutting your way to profit is always bad for long-term growth.
Yeah, I have got a lot of sympathy with car manufacturers. If we look towards Germany, and Volkswagen Audi was the powerhouse of German industrial policy, but even Volkswagen are closing car plants, Willie. So governments around the world have put in, oh, well, we're getting rid of the internal combustion engine. It's not good for the planet. And therefore, we've got to be all green and electric by X date. So the companies all try and do this. And then, oh, well, it's changed slightly. And, oh, it's maybe not quite as early as that. I have got a lot of sympathy because these companies have geared up. And now they've invested, and now governments are going, oh, right, well, maybe not quite as quick as that, and maybe the infrastructure's not there. I think I would hate to be a car manufacturer right now. There's too much disruption. When you're planning your capital allocation for the next 5-10 years, you do not know what's ahead of you.
And so let's stay on that. So Jaguar's created a stir this week, right? They unveiled their new concept car.
Yes.
The brand had previously confirmed it would halt sales of existing models and shift to an entirely EV brand. It then surprised the market last week when it unveiled a totally new brand design and further through people this week with a concept car that looked more like something out of a Batman movie. Is clear marketing and getting ahead of the curve, or are they throwing the branding baby out with a bathwater? I've got to say, I've seen the car, right? It did look like a prototype from Barbie.
But it's a concept car.
It is,
You're not
but-
going to be driving
But I
it.
want to change the name, you know, Jaguar, branding, all that years, built up that great reputation of building great cars. But the one thing I think, to be fair, would agree with you, we have completely misled car manufacturers. Right? We've got them all to run down the road on electric vehicles. And it'd be fair now that the people that have now realised that the cost to the vehicles have all taken a giant step back. And I think I mentioned that a few weeks ago. People who are moving into the new apartments that we were building, back at the start when we were building, they were all asking about the EV chargers. Now no one's interested because they're not buying an electric car.
Yeah.
That's a worry. So I
a
think
worry.
that some of the big automakers, they've all pumped billions into changing their assembly lines to build electric cars. And I think that, that the strong message now from the punters, as you would call them, right, your customers now is, I'm not buying any.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, I think Jaguar is part of JLR, Jaguar Land Rover. Jaguar sales have been falling, so it's less than 10% of the group. It's an Indian company, Willie, Tata Motors.
Yes.
Ultimately domiciled in India. Range Rover and all of that stuff's going great guns. Jaguar's been falling off. I think it's bold. The concept car's there to create a marketing story. Nobody's ever going to drive it on the roads. To make Jaguar a completely electric company, I think is very bold. The customer will decide, Willie. I don't know. I quite like the boldness of the marketing and the vision, but the customer, as always, will tell us, are we right or are we wrong?
So do you think I was wrong in ordering two?
Well, I know you drive an electric car. I've got 2 electric cars. And because I don't do that many miles, I don't have this mileage anxiety. But if I'm going down south, I don't take the electric car.
I'm the same as you,
Get
but
a petrol car.
I'll need to buy another one because I can't have you having one up on me. I need two. let's have a wee chuckle, right? We've been talking for months and months about our situation with the ferries, right?
Oh, don't talk about the
Because it
ferries.
seems that we're not the only country that doesn't get building its ferries, right? In an embarrassing turn of events in the state of Tasmania, they ordered and paid for a ferry to be built in Finland that's too big to fit its ports. It
Sounds
caused-
familiar.
Right? It caused further dismay for the Aussie state when they ended up having to transfer it to the port of Leith, where we are in it for us, where it's likely to be docked until 2026, and it will rack up docking bill of 12 million. Maybe Ferguson Marine will be finished a ferry by then and we could do a swap.
Maybe we could just use it while it's sitting there and just say, well, maybe charge you half the docking fees. Listen, I know nothing about building ferries, and it doesn't seem many folk in Scotland know either. But you know, what I read last week was there was something now wrong with one of the ferries anchoring. It wasn't built to the spec on the drawing. I mean, well, you're an engineer. Surely somebody checks. Here's what we're building. Does that go with the drawings? I mean, is that? I don't know. I'm not an engineer.
I think this high-tech new design was a bridge too far for anything that had been built in Scotland. And I think that's what happened at Ferguson Marine. And I think that's been a problem right from the start.
And it can't get into Ardrossan, but they knew that, and it still can't get into Ardrossan.
No.
Who on earth is in charge?
Well, you're right. When it was agreed that the new Airbus A380 was going to go from Glasgow to Dubai on a direct route,
Yeah,
that the people there knew that they had to build a whole new
because it's
cantilever. 20 million it cost
Did it?
for the docking
Wow.
for in order to get the plane to come to Scotland. So that's what you call being ahead of the game.
Ahead of the game.
But one just to finish this segment, we talked about the budget earlier, right? And I know we've had a wee chuckle in the last couple of weeks about Dodge, okay, the new Department of Government
Dodgy.
Efficiency. Right. I think seriously, now that we are getting to a position where we've got more money in Scotland, right? I have said that we are the perfect size, right, where we can make a difference. We're not a giant super tanker that you can't turn around in 2.5 years. And my message to whoever's running the country, that can we not be bold and think outside the box? Right? No, let's look at, you've mentioned it in the past, right? You mentioned Ireland, spent good money getting a survey done and bringing it here, and basically nobody listened to you. But
I'm used to that.
if me and you were running the country tomorrow, first thing we're doing, let's go and see what the people of Singapore done right. Right? And we say that has anyone actually sat down and done a survey on how that we might survive as a low tax nation? Right? We're the perfect size to try it. So why can somebody not spend, and me and you will chip in, if somebody for the government is serious about wanting to look at how we could maybe copy Ireland or Singapore or anywhere else. I believe when the guy was on the programme a few weeks ago and he told us, but he did say don't shout it out, that you can get really good tech people here for half the money that costs you in London.
Yeah.
If that isn't an incentive to try and attract big companies here, I don't know what is.
So Willie, I must tell you, we worked with Oxford Economics, a globally recognised think tank, great brains. I went to Ireland. I spoke to the business people who were there when this policy was written. We talked about it. I then took it to the Scottish Government. To be fair to the First Minister, he got everybody in the room, he listened, and then he did the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I gee up.
Right. And the reason
I'm not chipping in anymore.
No. I'll chip in for this one, right? I'll do this one. I think that the proof is there.
It's there.
Ireland, right, will look at a £10 billion surplus this year.
Correct.
Maybe 13 billion last year. The only country in the world, I believe, where a court awards you £13 billion for one of the largest companies in the world, and you say, we don't want it. We want that company to stay here. We don't want them to go.
We don't.
If you wanted proof that that low tax economy is the absolute thing to put you on your feet, get us off our knees. Let's get a wee survey done. Let's get a think tank, another think tank.
Willie, I'm
But
not
there are-
going to think tank. I've did the work. It's there. It was ignored. To hell with it. Right, I'm going to finish this wee section with a bit of good news. Peel Ports down in sunny Ayrshire, which is my home, at Hunterston, they've got planning permission to put in renewables infrastructure, and it can start work in early 2025. We've got the world's largest liquid air platform being built there. The multiplier effect down in Ayrshire for making Hunterston into the renewable sector is amazing. So well done to the council, well done to Peel Ports.
The Go Radio Business Show with Hunter and Haughey. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and never miss an episode.
So, Willie, the last show of 2024, it's went past in a blur.
Yes.
I want to thank Willie and everybody at Go Radio Business Show for having the back of our listeners and now our viewers, of people who are out there striving, trying their best to grow their business, to pay their taxes, and to get Scotland where we want it to be. We want to see Scotland flourish out there. So don't worry too much about what's happening with Donald Trump or Keir Starmer or John Swinney. Worry about what you can control, because you can't control any of that. But the Go Radio Business Show and the Hunter Foundation have your back. We want to see you succeed. We look forward to seeing you in 2025. We want to wish you all the very best for the new year, and we hope your business flourishes.
Yeah, I think you've summed it up perfectly, Tom. Just to say to all the listeners and hopefully now the viewers, hope you enjoy the new format. Remember that this show is for you. This is a business show for business. So if you've heard anything or seen anything that you like and you'd like to be involved, drop us a line. If you think you've an interesting story, we'd be delighted to have you on the show. Again, a big thank you to everyone who supported the show, especially our sponsors over the last year. I'd like to wish you a lovely Christmas and a very prosperous new year. And we look forward to talking to you early in the new year.
And if there's any lawyers out there can help me with my contract negotiation with Willie, that would be great.
Yeah, there's nobody out there could help him with his contract negotiation. Thank you very much.
Happy New Year.
The Go Radio Business Show with Hunter and Haughey. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and never miss an episode.